are here with Stella Assange. Good morning. Thank you to be here.
Good morning.
We are here in a very important event which has been organized just to speak about the future of democracy. How do you see the future of democracy right now?
Well, at the moment it's looking very dark. Julian's incarceration and imprisonment for the past 3.5 years are a sign of our times. Julian embodies the principles of accountability and of democracy, and he's in prison, and I think we're all in prison as long as Julian's in prison, and it bodes very badly for where things are going. I think that Julian's what's been done to Julian over the past 12 years really tracks how we've descended into something that we've lost democracy, basically. It is meaningless to talk about democracy anymore. And what it is and where it's going is a question.
Please give us the ultimate updates on the case.
Well, in June, the UK Home Secretary signed off on or approved of the extradition to the United States. In the UK, you can still appeal that decision, so Julian is trying to appeal that decision. But the reality is that Julian could be extradited within a matter of months. We hope that the High Court will hear the appeal, but they have no obligation to hear an appeal. So at the moment we're waiting to hear back from the courts about whether and when an appeal hearing will be heard. And of course the United Kingdom is trying to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights system. So even that avenue of appeal, which has always been kind of the last safeguard for people who are having their rights abused within the European Council of Europe area. The UK wants to withdraw from that system, and so Julian might not even have resort to the European Court of Human Rights, although we hope that he will, and that if he does, then the case will be stopped at that stage, and that the UK will honor the decision of the European Court of Human Rights. But obviously it's looking like the UK government just wants to withdraw from every international safeguard and go its own way into a very dangerous place.
I would like to ask you if, apart from the very important support from the Mexican president, is there any other major support you received recently?
Well, Julian is a symbol of democracy and anti-imperialism in many countries. So Latin American countries right now that are supportive of Julian are Argentina, Mexico, and a few others, and we're waiting to see the results of the Brazilian election as well, because as you may know, Lula da Silva has expressed how Julian should win the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, and so there's incredible support around the world. The political persecution of Julian is well understood all over the world. Julian is the foremost political prisoner in the world right now. He is being punished and persecuted because he did his job as a journalist, and he is being punished because he revealed war crimes and criminality by the superpower.
Can you actually tell us if there has been some sort of raise into the people's consciousness about this case?
Absolutely. There has been progressive awareness over time, and I think that's not just the success of the campaigns, which are incredibly important. It is both those campaigns that have grown and grown, and people have become informed about the case, because the facts of the case, of the persecution itself, they speak for themselves. So it's really about breaking through to informing people properly about what Julian is being charged for, which is the documents about the Iraq and Afghan wars, torture in Guantanamo Bay, and so on. But I think it's also because the average person is basically a witness to this monumental injustice, that they understand that you can't keep a person in prison for years on end indefinitely, who is not serving a prison sentence. This is arbitrary detention in its purest form. It is persecution in its most primary expression. And the average person who has a sense of justice and of fairness can see that what is being done to Julian is cruel, inhumane, and torturous treatment.
And regarding this last topic that you brought forward, it's very important for us to understand the human part of the story. I would like to know, when was the last time you could see your husband, your children could see your husband, you could see each other, and how's his health right now?
Well, Julian's health is deteriorating by the day because that is what prison does to you. He's in a single prison cell in the United Kingdom. In that prison, they have prisoners in their cells for over 20 hours a day. So the isolation is extremely difficult for him, and obviously he's not getting the type of physical movement that he needs in order to stay healthy. And he's fighting an enormous fight from that environment, so it takes a huge toll on him, and the sheer injustice of it would be extremely difficult for any person to deal with. But Julian's incredibly strong, and he's energized, and he knows there's a lot of support around the world. So he's energized by the fact that people are mobilizing. They're mobilizing all over the world. Tomorrow there will be a bunch of actions in many countries, and then on the 15th of October here in Italy, and in other parts of the world there will also be actions for Julian's freedom. And it's important to keep the pressure up, to raise the pressure, so that Julian's case is truly understood for what it is, a political case, a political persecution, not a legal process, because it's an abuse of the law in order to persecute a person. So Julian's, he's incredibly grateful for everything that people all over the world, the gestures, big and small, that people do in order to fight for his freedom in different ways, and there is no action that is too small. And there's also a lot of linking up and connecting people who support Julian. They're linking up, and there's strength and resilience, and in that action, and it is the ongoing fight that people will fight as long as Julian isn't free. It's that message that is incredibly important to keep growing until he's free.
And exactly because of that, we will never stop trying to obviously speak about the case, and next week we are going to do a 24 hours live interview to all the people that are going to speak about the case, and along with President and my colleagues which are here with me today. And is there anything else we can do to actually bring forward to the attention of everybody what's going on, and what is your very last hope this period to bring forward justice into this case?
Well, Julian has stood up for people around the world, and now people around the world have to stand up for him in order to free him, and that's what it will take in order to free him. The 15th, the marathon, 24 hours to free Julian, is incredibly important in order to integrate and consolidate support, and we have to keep these actions up, and people need to be more and more involved and follow what's happening in the case. Follow Me, buy Neil Smeltzer's book, by Stefania Maurizi's book. They are incredibly detailed deconstructions of the persecution against Julian, and they show how what's being done to Julian is criminal, and it is the criminals who are inflicting the damage on the innocent person who stood up for democracy.
Thank you so much, Stella.